All right, guys, so I've been holding off on this video for a little bit. I've been waiting for enough information to compile to give my overall thoughts about what's going on. And it's about basically Jazzinc and them diving back into, I guess, 1/6 scale figures. Now, I say diving back into because for those who may or may not remember, they did at least make one, I believe, figure, and that was the Iron Scavenger, or the whatever they called it. It was basically the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, the quote illegal figure, as Jazzinc likes to call. You know, if they're not licensed, then they're illegal figures. And so that was an illegal figure that he made. So now we fast forward to diving into, obviously we have the Catwoman from Batman Returns that is up for pre-order at various locations. I've made previous videos on it, but I've never actually given my thoughts on the overall figure itself and the whole situation. And now those who, obviously well documented my feelings about the quality of the product after having the Batmobile and stuff. So I thought it'd be good to kind of talk about the figures, because the first and foremost thing to consider is by Jazzinc making 6 scale figures, they are opening themselves up to a wider market. More collectors are able to afford the product. Not everyone can afford a $1,500 plus vehicle, but they can potentially afford a $315 plus figure, the starting price. And that being said, you open yourself up to more people that are able to get your product in hand, more scrutiny, and more either successes or failures. That's the reality of it. That being said, I've had some thoughts about the Catwoman, and once again, it's another crowdfunding project because we are not shown a final product. We are given, in my opinion, too many SKUs. There's too many SKUs. They should have done either 1 SKU or at max 2 as their first. I'm treating it like their first figure. Yes, they've done the Vulture before, but this is one that has a head sculpt. There's more work put into it, and it's a very iconic character. That being said, I think they should have done at least 2 SKUs, maybe a clean and a battle damaged, a la carte, and let the collectors decide. But going above and beyond, they're doing multiple SKUs, like 4 or 5, with all these honestly crazy wackadoo options. And a lot of I was hoping that some of the tactics and the ways that they design the vehicles wouldn't translate to the way they do the figures, and they have a different process. Unfortunately, they're doing the exact same process with the figures that they're doing with the vehicles. They are basically crowdfunding the project, and there is nothing final, and everything is basically renderings, and there is a rough prototype. There is a prototype that's done, that's been photographed, as you've seen these photos, but it's been documented. This is not the final. This wasn't the actual custom body. This is a Fison body that was used. So nothing about this figure per se is necessarily the final thing that you're going to be purchasing. Things can change. Things are going to change. You're going through the R&D phase just like the vehicle, which for me, I don't like that process. Honestly, you think, and I was one of them, that it's cool to see the developmental side, something from a rendering to a finished product. But now that I went through it with the 89 Batmobile, I had some optimistic thoughts that maybe the process might change a little when it comes to the figures, and it doesn't seem to work whatsoever. So the Catwoman, it came out for pre-order, and it honestly was a startling amount of prices. A lot of them, like I said, there was, I think, too many features. I think there was too many packages. It was too complex when I don't think it needed to be. I think that, I don't want to say a less is more approach, but for example, like all of the head sculpts, like I understand doing a clean version, battle damage version. Okay, that's fine, because there were 2 distinctive looks for her in the movie. But to do like a multitude of head sculpts, I think if you get the all-in deluxe, you're getting a total of like 5. No one's going to display all 5. I mean, realistically, I don't want to speak for a majority of collectors, but when you have more than one head sculpt, I mean, you're typically going to display one for a very long period of time, and you're not really going to go through a rotation of swapping out head sculpts just for the fact of. And so I would rather have 1 or 2 absolute banger head sculpts than to have potentially 5 mediocre ones. I mean, that's just the reality. And so my whole thing was, and also the 2-pack deluxe had that pretty amazing diorama that a lot of collectors felt was kind of, because it was put behind a price wall. And I believe the reasoning for it was because of licensing, and, it had to be within a certain, I mean, the reality is that it could have been probably sold separately. Like, if I had my way, I would have sold a clean Catwoman, a battle damaged, and the diorama, and let collectors decide what they want to do. Now, that was how I felt about that. I think it's a ridiculous amount of money for something that we don't know what the final product is going to be. And a lot of collectors are really falling heavy for the nostalgia over the fact that this is our first quote unquote licensed Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. Now, Mars Toys has teased about 1.5 years or so ago that they were going to get involved and do one around the same time, but we haven't heard much from them. And you're going to think that Hot Toys isn't going to be, or hadn't, wasn't working on one in the background. I honestly think it's a matter of when, it's going to come out. And then you're going to hear the pissing and moaning that they're doing it on purpose to undercut Jazzinc, and it's happened before. I mean, everyone says that they love the competition. So how's it any different? It's making it a more competitive playing field. Hot Toys will most likely make, 1 or 2 versions at a cheaper price that I think a lot more collectors know what they're getting for. And that's the big difference between Hot Toys. Jazzinc wants to compare themselves to Hot Toys in certain aspects when it benefits them, but then doesn't want to when it doesn't benefit them. The reality is that when you're buying a Hot Toy, arguably even an in-art product, you're looking at a pretty much damn near final prototype when the announcement and the pre-order goes up. And it's pretty much guaranteed that that's what you're going to be getting, minus any maybe minor deviations from the head sculpt, or maybe a couple percentage points off in degradation of the head sculpt from final to proto to final. And we know that already. That's nothing new. Same old song and dance. But you don't know with Jazzinc, same thing as the vehicles. You don't know what the finished product is going to be. Now, obviously, Yost, I'm assuming, but this is going to be another interesting thing. With the vehicles, I know with the 89, he pretty much was saying, hey, if you don't like it, you want to cancel, you get your NRD back, you get your full payment back, someone else will take it. I don't know how that's going to end up playing out with the Catwoman, seeing as it's being sold through other dealers, or like 1/6 Kit, other Spec Fiction. It's being sold through other chains. There are some that are able to buy direct from Jazzinc, but it's interesting to play out how it's going to be if there's going to be QC issues. And there's going to be QC issues. There hasn't been a Jazzinc product that there hasn't been QC issues. So I'm interested to see how that is actually going to be handled. Now, the Catwoman's one thing, and now we move on to the multitude of teases that have come out. Now we have the Penguin from Batman Returns, which that was another one, and we're in the rendering stage. Once again, the same old song and dance. Digital renderings, nothing physical. They're working on, looks like, some umbrellas, and once again, multiple head sculpts, like 6 head sculpts. Like, why do we need 5 or 6 head sculpts, realistically? And, I think that one thing collectors really have to kind of get through the smoke and mirrors about is that all of this extra stuff, it's like, how much of this are you practically going to use? And is that going to make the quality of the product suffer? So is it a matter of, do you want quality over quantity, or vice versa? Just like the Catwoman. There was a post put out on a lot of the groups that apparently the pre-orders for the Catwoman are going good, that they're able to now start the extras, the freebies as they call them. And one of them that is being flaunted around is a bust to display one of the alternate head sculpts. It's not free. You paid for it. It's just that there's more people buying into it, so now there's more room in the budget to do stuff. And like, that's another example, like a bust holder for a head sculpt. I would rather you invest that money into the quality of the product. That's just my opinion. I don't want to. I know not many people are going to be using a bust. I mean, they might just because, but it's unnecessary. Or you could have lowered maybe the price of the product again. So instead of giving collectors so much extra shit, maybe you could have lowered the initial price of the product. I'm not going to pretend that I know the logistics. I know all that stuff. I'm just saying, as a collector, once again, it's more about quality over quantity. And what's the same thing is being repeated with the Penguin. Multiple head sculpts, and with these renders here, one of him that looks like he's dying. Like, why would someone want that realistically? And it's just this whole thing all over again. And then moving on from that, it's then we have Kim Basinger, Vicky Vale from 1989 Batman. Who the hell really does want that? I mean, I'm a diehard 89 fan, and I that's not needed. That's just there's other people out there that are going to be, completionists that says, yes, we need all this stuff. There's a difference when it's from, frankly, a company whose reputation in 6-scale figures is pretty well established, like Hot Toys, versus someone like Jazzinc that you don't know what the product is going to be. It would be different if the money was invested into a final prototype that you could say, this is what you're paying for. Hot Toys has probably the dispensable income to make prototypes that ultimately don't see the light of day. And I understand that it's a lot of money to invest in R&D and prototypes. They're not something that you just whip up overnight. There's a lot of money to be invested. And frankly, to do all that for the project to potentially not come to see the light of day, yeah, there's a financial hit that you could take for that. Hot Toys is able to do that. Jazzinc can't afford to do it or doesn't want to do that. So that's what they're doing. That's why I call it the crowdfunding. They're taking deposits, banking money through NRDs or paying fulls, and then honestly, most likely using that money to do the R&D. I mean, you can see here with the photos. The one thing about Jazzinc, they're extremely transparent with showing you everything on social media. And I think credit to Denobi, he even said that. They're more transparent than the YouTubers are that support the company are. They're showing you everything, stages of the production, all that stuff. They're showing you everything. And so there's more transparency there. But once again, you're seeing the product develop and you're seeing all this extra fluff and all this stuff. What is the final product going to look like? And can the consistency of it be carried over for X amount of units that are going to be sold? Now, I know that Jazzinc isn't trying to, I believe, compete anywhere near the quantity of Hot Toy units. They don't need to. I don't think they want to. But the money that they're charging, you can compare them to Hot Toys and InArt. I mean, let's face it, when the InArt Joker came out, the 2-pack, people thought, some, not all, but there were people that saw the price tags and thought that it was pretty ballsy for a company making their first 6-scale figure to be pricing it the way they did. And obviously that then, in my opinion, allowed Hot Toys to step up their pricing. Like, I'm the first one to admit that the artisan figures I don't think are fully worth the value that you're paying for, because there leaves room that they could do more. But why would they have to? If they're selling, why go above and beyond when you don't have to, when you can go a little bit and they're still going to sell, unless they don't see sales and then they have to push the quality and put out better stuff. Then they go as far as they only have to. So that's the same thing with Jazzinc. Like, all these, like, I doubt that Kim Basinger, Vicky Vale is going to be just a single figure. It's probably going to have 2 figures, multiple head, like all that extra stuff. Once again, the Danny DeVito Penguin. It's probably going to have multiple head sculpts, all this stuff, possibly 2 bodies to jack that price up. Now, you could buy a single figure, but it's probably going to be the same type of pay structure as the Catwoman, where a 2-pack could send you north of $1,200. And you don't know what the quality is. You don't have anything to comp it towards. can't turn around. I mean, by the time the Penguin actually comes out, we should have the Catwoman out. So then at that point, we can judge the quality and say, hey, the Penguin is going to end up being good because now look at the Catwoman. But right now, we have absolutely nothing to go by except for promises from the people selling the product saying that, you know, trust us, we're going to strive for accuracy. And I say that that's my new slogan about Jazzinc. They strive for accuracy and they fail at execution. And that's how I felt it was with the 89 Batmobile. They're so worried about getting every stitch and everything accurate on the suit that they fail at the execution part of it. That's the whole thing with the 89, is that they were so worried about getting the most minute things that no one would ever notice, but yet, you know, it has its documented list of issues. And then we move on to 1966, which is probably more baffling to me than anything else, that they are, you know, moving forward with a potential 1966 Catwoman. And that's another one that, to be honest with you, who the hell really wants that stuff? I mean, that's just obscurity upon, obscurity. And so that's one that I'm just like, I'm at a, it is what it is. But, it's just, these are figures that they all have head sculpts. They have nothing to hide behind. They have rooted hair or hair of some sort that can be rooted. They are not easy character figures to make. They are slightly complex or more. And so for them to be the first batch of figures that they are tackling, I'm a bit surprised, but I'm not, because they are going to sell. There are people that are going to buy them. But once again, the amount of money that's being charged, I hope there's people out there that will be, scrutinizing in a fair way. Nothing's perfect. And that there's going to be a percentage of people that are going to say, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, the 89 Batmobile, I keep going back to that, but there's posts that I see all the time, and I'll put one up, like this one here. Someone's saying that it's 100% perfect. Obviously, this is just jerking the chain, but I mean, you can see in the photo, the machine gun covers are warped, and it's documented that every 89, because of the molding process, is going to have dents on the body. How is that a 100% perfect vehicle at that point? It's not. You're just gaslighting basically at this point. And so you're going to get those people with the figures. And so I know I'm coming off right now as probably being a hater, but I'm going to be extremely critical of this process because these are not cheap figures. They're expensive. And if you're coming out of the gate charging that amount of money, you're throwing yourself in the game with these other players like Hot Toys and InArt. And as I said, from multiple posts I've seen, Jazzinc wants to compare themselves to Hot Toys and claim that, they're better. But then in other instances, they don't want to, when it doesn't benefit them. And so they're going to be held. And frankly, Hot Toys, it's just a matter of when they're going to put out Catwoman and Penguin. It's just going to happen. And nobody should be shocked. Nobody should. But there's going to be a circus tour of people that are going to assume that Hot Toys is, they're threatened by Jazzinc and things like that. I personally don't think so. I don't think they're on the same wavelength, to be honest. I don't think they care. I think they're just marching to the beat of their own drum and putting out what they want. But I'm going to continue to follow these processes of the figures from a distance. I'm not pre-ordering any of them because I just don't find it smart as a collector I've done it once already with the 89 and that's it. And so I know the process from start to finish. And so for the amount of money on the figures being charged, I just don't see the investment there. And when I say investment, I don't mean like financially, but like, putting my money up for something that I don't know what I'm getting at the end of the day. And then for it to go through all that, I don't feel comfortable with it. And I know there's other people out there that don't either. For those who did pre-order this stuff, I hope that you get what you feel you paid for and that you're left happy and satisfied with your purchase. I truly, truly do. But I just think that the business practices and the way and the business model is not sustainable for them to be making 6-scale figures, because, you know, and you're divulging so much information and you're putting so much out there and you're taking so much community quote unquote feedback that it just ends up, like I said, just being a lot of smoke and mirrors. And it's like, what is the quality of the final product going to be? That's my whole thing about this. So obviously, let me know what your thoughts are. This is kind of a compilation video of a couple of these things. I've been wanting to make this for a little while, and so I decided just to kind of put it all in together, but there will be subsequent videos as there's more progress made on these figures. But until then, this is Mr. Mom Collectibles saying take care, and I will see you guys in the next video.